Safari jackets were initially designed for military purposes in Britain. However, St. Laurent first introduced the safari jacket in his runway shows in the year 1967. In today's video, I will be showing you how to make a safari suit. Safari suits are usually made up of cotton, linen, and wool. Meanwhile, the safari suit comes with different design of collars, pockets, sleeves, and vents. But in today's tutorial, I will be focusing on a safari suit with one-piece collar, utilitarian pockets, short two-piece sleeve, center back vent, and fancy buttons, just like the image you are seeing on your screen right now. If this sounds interesting to you, go ahead and smash the subscribe button now so that you won't miss any of my subsequent videos. Because on this channel, I upload fashion designing content regularly for both male and female, using pattern drafting, which is the world standard method in clothing construction. My name is Bolaji, and this is Regi School of Fashion. The measurements required in making a safari suit are the chest circumference, the neck width and depth, the biceps measurement, the sleeve measurement, the back measurement, waist length and the waist circumference, the hip circumference, and the length of the suit itself. Okay, so I will start with the front panel. Please, the pattern I'm drafting here is without seam allowance. I will not be adding any seam allowance on my pattern. Every seam allowances will be added on the fabric, so please take note of this. I'm drawing a starting point line at the edge of my pattern paper. I'll be making use of this side as the center front, and I will label this as center front. So the next step is to insert the button allowance. The button allowance I'm using is 1.5 inches. Then I will label this as the button allowance. So which means the center front starts from this line. This is the center front. Every measurement I will be taking along this side will start from this line, not from the edge of the pattern paper. The next step is to insert the vertical measurement. And because this is a safari suit, I need just 3 vertical measurements, which are the chest level, the waist level, and the length of the suit itself. Now I will be inserting the chest measurement of 9 inches. That is the armhole depth measurement. And because the back is usually longer than the front, 2 inches will be added back to the front panel. So I have to subtract the 2 inches away from every vertical measurement I will be taking. So that is why I place the 2 inches point on the starting point line. This line is the starting point and not the edge of the pattern paper. Now I've labeled this line as the starting point. So every measurement I will be taking regarding the length will start on this line. So I've placed the 2 inches on the starting point. Please take note, not on the edge of the pattern paper, on the starting point. Then I will take all the vertical measurements at once, or one after the other. And I will start with the armhole depth measurement, which is the chest level. Armhole depth is gotten by dividing the armhole circumference by 2. Once you take the armhole circumference measurement around your client, divide the measurements by 2. Whatever you have is the armhole depth. And if you don't know how to measure a male figure, I have a well-detailed tutorial on how to take measurements on a male figure, where you will learn how to measure all parts of a male figure. The video has been linked up in the description box already, so make sure you watch the video after watching this particular one, because it is necessary for you to learn how to take all the measurements we will be using in the course of this tutorial. Not taking the measurements only, but taking the measurements correctly. So after the armhole depth measurement, then I will insert the waist measurement, which is 21 inches. Then I will insert the safari suit length. I'm working with 28.5 inches. Then I'll come to the other side and insert all the measurements just for me to have a perfect straight line. Now I've labeled all the vertical lines I have on my pattern. As you can see, here is the starting point. This is the chest level, the waist level, and the safari suit length. I did not add my hem allowance yet. Okay, as I said earlier, that all the seam allowances will be added on the fabric. So that is why I did not add my hem allowance. Now the next step is to construct the armhole. In constructing the armhole, I will be inserting the neck width measurements. That is the collar point. And the measurements will be taken after this 1.5 inches point. So which means I will be laying the tip of my measuring tape on this point. And I will insert the neck width of 3 inches. I'm using 3 inches because it is a safari suit. So after taking the neck width point, then I will insert the back measurement at once. The back measurement I'm working with is 8.5 inches. Then I'll insert the same 8.5 inches on the chest level. So don't forget, all measurement taking must start on this line, not at the edge of the pattern paper. And if you know you can forget, so what you can do is just to fold in the 1.5 inches. You can fold it inward. So you just fold it inward and tape it down. If you know you can forget and take the measurement from the edge of the pattern paper. Now I have half of the back measurement inserted from this point to this point. Then I will be connecting this to make a perfect straight line. Okay, so the next step is to create the shoulder slope. In creating the shoulder slope, I will come down by 1.5 inches from the starting point. Then I will connect the 1. Now this is the new shoulder line. So this is how the shoulder line is meant to be. It's not meant to be on a straight line. So this is no more in use. Then in drafting the armhole, I will get the midpoint of this line, which is 3.5 inches. I have 7 inches in total. Then I'll get the midpoint. Then I'll extend the midpoint inward. Then on this point, I will measure 0.75, that is 3/4 of an inch. So the next step is to insert the chest measurement. The chest measurement I'm working with is 38 inches. 38 divided by 4, I have 9.5. So after inserting quarter of the chest circumference measurement, here is a point. And I will confirm the measurement I have from half of the back measurement and quarter of the chest. The distance is exactly 1 inch. So this 1 inch is not enough to construct the armhole. If I should construct the armhole like so, that area will be very tight and the seam will rip off at the end of the day. Because this is a male figure pattern and it is for a safari suit, we need as many ease as possible around the armhole. And because of this, I will be making this 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches. Please take note, the 2.5 inches is not taken from this point. The 2.5 inches is taken from the half of the back measurement point. So now I have 1.5 inches. Then I'll be connecting this point 1, 2, and the 1.5 inches point I use in slanting the shoulder. The 3 points will be connected together. So now I'll be constructing the armhole, connecting these 3 points together. This point 1, 2, and this point 3. And I'll position my ruler until the 3 points meet. And on the chest level, it may not be exactly on this point. It should just be somewhere around here, between here and this point. Anywhere you can pick the point. Once these 2 points connect, then you can go ahead and construct the armhole. Okay, so now I have the front armhole, and I will be leaving the neckline for now. I will not draft the neckline yet. So I will go to the construction of the side of our safari suit. So now I will be inserting the waist measurement. The waist circumference measurement I'm working with is 36 inches. Or better still, if you know you cannot take this measurement accurately, whatever you have on the chest level, quarter of the chest measurement you are working with, subtract half of an inch from it. Okay, so that is like total of 4 inches out of the chest circumference measurement. Quarter of the chest circumference measurement I'm working with is 9.5. That is quarter of the chest. And I will subtract half of an inch from 9.5. I have 9 inches left. This is just like a standard measurement that works very well for all male figure. Okay, subtract half of an inch from quarter of the chest. You know the shape of a man are not that curvy, so the difference between their measurements are not much. So with this, you will not have the issue of the tummy being too tight or the waist too tight. Okay, so after this measurement, I will be adding extra 1 inch. The extra 1 inch is for the dart intake. Because this is a safari suit, we need to pick a dart. Okay, this is different from a casual shirt or normal button-down shirt. This is a male safari suit. So I will be picking a dart and I'm inserting that dart intake of 1 inch. Sorry, I have 2 inches here. That intake is 1 inch. So 1 inch is a standard measurement. So 1 inch works perfectly for all sizes. Then on the safari suit length, I will insert the quarter of the hip circumference measurement. The hip circumference measurement is usually the same thing with the chest circumference measurement, but at times the difference is usually 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Like the measurement I'm working with is the hip is 39 inches, while the chest is 38 inches. So quarter of the hip circumference measurement is what I'll be inserting on the safari suit length. Okay, so after this point, I will add extra 1 inch. Extra 1 inch is for the dart intake. Okay, so here I have all my measurements inserted, the waist point and the safari suit length on the chest level. I'm not adding the dart allowance on the chest level because I will not extending the dart intake to get to the chest level. It's going to be below the chest level. That was why I did not add dart allowance on the chest level, in case you are worried about that. So the next step is to connect the points together. Please take note of this, as I said earlier when I was drafting this pattern, that I did not add any seam allowance. This is a pure pattern drafting class. We don't have seam allowances on pattern except on special cases. But in this case, I will not be adding seam allowances at all. None of the seam allowance will be added except ease and dart allowance. Okay, so I'll be connecting the points together. And this is not meant to be on a straight line. So can you see what I have? And for the side, for the lower part of the safari suit, I will take this up a little with a straight line. So just like 3 inches upwards, then I will complete this together with a curve ruler. So which I will have something like this. You can see the shape is really looking good. Okay, so the next step is to shape the lower parts of the safari suit pattern. So the lower part is not meant to be on a straight line like this, not for all designs, but with this particular style we are working with, the lower part will not be on a straight line. So on this point, I will come up by 1 inch in order to give this lower part a curvy effect. So I don't want it to be a complete straight line because of the design. So just a slight curve. Okay, so you can see what we have for the pattern. So now I have the armhole constructed on the side. So the next step is to plot the darts on the pattern so that you can see how the dart looks like. So for the dart intake, as I said, the dart intake is 1 inch and the positioning of the dart is 2 inches and 1/4 from the center front. So from the center front on the safari suit length, I will measure 2 inches and 1/4 points inward, which is here. Then from this point, I will measure in my dart intake, which is 1 inch. So this is a 1 inch point and I'll get a midpoint of 1/2 inch. Then I will measure whatever I have from the center front to the midpoint. Take the measurements, that is 2 inches and 1/4 plus 1/2 inch. I have 2.75. Then I'll insert the same 2.75 on the waistline. Then also on the chest level, 2.75. Then I'll be connecting the 3 points together with a straight ruler. Then from this point, which is the chest level, I will be taking this down by 2.5 inches. As I said earlier, I will not let my dart to get up to the chest level. So then on the waist level, I will be inserting the same 1/2 inch on both sides. So with this, I have my dart intake of 1 inch. Okay, so I'll be connecting this point. So that's 2.5 inches point. I will be connecting it to the 1/2 inch point. Then I will take this point to meet the half of an inch point on the safari suit length. Okay, so this is the dart I will be having on the safari suit. So the next step is to construct the pockets on the pattern. This is going to be like a framework which will give us the idea of where the pocket will fall, so that by the time we are cutting out the fabric, we'll be able to place notches on those points. So this is not the exact design of pocket we will be having on our safari suit. So I will be inserting 8 inches downward from the starting point line. So which is this point. Okay, so this is the point the pocket will fall. So and I will extend this outward. So that is the 8 inches point. Then from the center front, I will measure 2 inches and 1/4. 2 inches, that is 2.25. Okay, so that is the point. Okay, so this is 2 inches and 1/4. 2 inches and 1/4 is the same thing as 2.25. Please, you have to learn how to read your measuring tape, so you don't need to round up your values to the nearest numbers you are familiar with. You have to read every small lines you have on your measuring tape. If you don't know how to read your measuring tape accurately, and most importantly for pattern drafting, I have a well-detailed video on how to read a measuring tape. The video has been linked up in the description box already. In this video, you get to learn how to convert your decimal values to fraction and fraction values to decimal, and how to locate any value whatsoever on your measuring tape. Okay, so this is the 2 inches and 1/4 point. So this is the point where the pocket will start, and I will take the measurements downward. 2 inches, 1/4, 2 inches and 1/4. Then I'll connect this. So I'll be connecting the points together. Okay, then I'll be inserting the 8 inches I measured earlier to fall on the 2 inches and 1/4 point, so which is here. Then I will insert the length of the pocket, that is how long the pocket will be, and that is 6 inches. So this measurement is a standard measurement for safari suit pockets. 6 inches for the length and 5 inches for the width. Then I will connect this together with a square with my straight ruler. Okay, the 8 inches I measured from this point to this point, I will insert the same 8 inches on this line as well, just for me to have a perfect straight line. Then I'll connect the 2 points together. Then from this point downwards, I will measure the same 6 inches. So with this, I will have a perfect straight line on the lower part as well. Then I can erase the excess lines I have downward. So far so good. The front pattern is ready. Okay, so I will be leaving this for now. When I'm drafting the back, that is when I'll be constructing the front neck. So we have the shoulder, the armhole, the side, the darts, and the pocket. So I'll be cutting out the front panel. Before cutting on the safari suit length, I have to fold in the button allowance I have so that I will not have a shortage around that side when I'm constructing my safari suit. So that was why I folded in the button allowance. So now I'll be drafting the back using the front pattern. Okay, so before using your front pattern, if you've not folded the button allowance, make sure you fold it at this point. It is very important. Okay, so you can see I folded mine as well. So you have to fold in the button allowance, and I measured in 2 inches. This 2 inches is for the vent allowance. Based on the design of the safari suit I'm making, there's going to be a vent at the center back. Okay, so instead of starting the center back from the edge of the pattern, the center back will start from this line. So I will label this as the center back and this side as the vent allowance. So the first thing I'll be doing is to place the center front to align with the center back. Like so, and I will secure the two together with my tape. So you can see I have my front pattern laid on my back pattern. So now I'll be tracing out the shoulder line. And I will mark the armhole point. So make sure you note the point and also the neck width point as well. So make sure you note the 2 points. Okay, so now I can remove the front pattern for now. Okay, so I will trace out what I have here, which is the shoulder line. I'm tracing this out clearly. Okay, so the next step is to measure out 4 inches. That is the 4 inches I was talking about when I was drafting the front bodies, that the back will be 4 inches longer than the front bodies. So the measurement will be taken on these 2 points. The 2 points I asked you to note when you are tracing the shoulder line, the neck width point and the armhole point. So from this point, I will measure 4 inches downward and mark the point. Then from this point as well, I will measure 4 inches downward and mark the point. Then I'll be connecting the 2 points together like so. Then I will note this point on the new line as well. That's the 4 inches line. So I'll place my ruler like so, making sure I have a perfect straight line, or take the measurement I have from the center front to the neck width, which is 3 inches. So here is a 3 inches. So that's the point. Okay, so with this, I have these 2 points on the 4 inches line. Then I will pick my front bodies again and position it on the 4 inches line. So this time I have to tape this down properly, because I will not remove this pattern until I'm done with the drafting of the back panel. While doing this, I'm focusing on 2 areas: the shoulder line to align with the line I have here, and also the center front to align on the center back. Now I have my front pattern taped together with the back pattern. So the next step is to get the midpoint of these 4 inches. The 4 inches I measured from the shoulder line downward, I'll get the midpoint. So which means the midpoint will be 2 inches. Okay, so this is the 2 inches point. So once I get the midpoint, then I'll be folding on the 2 inches point. Okay, so I'll be folding on this 2 inches point like so. So this will overlap on this. But before that, I will have to trace out the shape of the shoulder. So with this, I'll be able to fold on the line. The front panel a little, just a little. Can you see what I have here? Like so. So I will have the pattern folded like so. So the pattern have to be unfolded like this before constructing the armhole and also the neckline. So now I have the back panel folded over the front panel, and this is the positioning until when I construct the armhole and the neckline. After constructing the armhole and the neckline, I can remove my pattern and also cut out the side. So with this, I will have equal measurements for both the front and back bodies. Okay, so the next step is to construct the armhole. From here to here is 2 inches. This folded side is the shoulder line. So this is a new shoulder line. This joining part will be moved away from the center of the shoulder. So by the time I take all my vertical measurements now, I will have the exact value I measured. Okay, so I will have the exact value with this. This is 2 inches and it has been added back to the front bodies. So I will start with the armhole. I don't need to start taking measurement for the armhole anymore. I will just position my ruler, then complete the curve I have on the front panel already. So can you see what I have? This has been completed. Okay, but for the back armhole will not be as deep as the front armhole. So this drafting is for the front, and I will construct the back curve. So all I need is just to come to this midpoint. This is the midpoint I used in constructing the front armhole. I came in by 0.75 for constructing the front armhole, but for the back armhole, it will not be as deep as that. So I'll be subtracting 0.25 from that 3/4. So instead of 0.75 for the front, I will use half of an inch for the back. It's just a simple calculation. I use 0.75 for the front, and I want to use 0.5 for the back. All I need to do is just subtract 0.5 from 0.75. What I will have left is 0.25. So from here, I will just measure 0.25 forward. So not towards the center, towards the side. And here I have the point. Okay, so I will just take my curve ruler, then connect the chest level to this point and this point to meet this point. So with this, the back armhole will not be as deep as the front armhole. Now to the final stage, that is construction of the front and the back neckline. I'll be constructing the two necklines together, and I will start with the front neckline. For the front neckline, I will be using 2.5 inches. So please, all these values are standard measurements. So that is why you need to take this measurement before cutting out the neck. You have to take the neck circumference measurement. This is very important. So this is what will guide you on the exact shape or the type of wideness or deepness you will have for your neckline. Okay. So from this edge, that is the edge of the front panel or front pattern, I measure 2.5 inches downward from this point, and I have the neck width marked already, which is this point. So that is the mark, that is the neck width. Okay, then I'll be connecting these together, these 2 points, the neck width and the neck depth. I'll be connecting the 2 points together. So I'm taking this straight a little, like 1 inch, so that the center will not be pointed. Okay, so this is what I have for the front neckline, and I will construct the back neckline. For the back neckline, I will use 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. So from this line, that is the shoulder line for the back, I will measure 1.5 inches forward. Okay, so this is a point, and I will be connecting this. So this has to, it's just like I want to complete, as if I want to complete the curve I have on the front. You can see what I have is like a cone. So now I want to make this a complete semicircle. So that is what I'm trying to achieve. The two necklines have to go together. Okay. So this is a 1.5 inches point. So here is 1.5 inches point. So can you see what I have for the neckline? You can see the shape really comes out well. But before I can conclude, if I'm going to use this neckline like so, I will have to take these measurements all together, then multiply it by 2 and compare it with the neck circumference measurements I'm working with. What I have here is more than the neck circumference measurements I'm working with. So if you find yourself in this type of situation, you don't need to worry. All you need to do is just to reduce the number you used in drafting your neckline. So that is one of the advantages you can get when you are making use of pattern drafting method. Okay, I use 2.5 inches. I will just take this up by 1/2 inch. So here I'll have 2 inches. And also for the back, instead of using 1.5, I will use 1 inch for the back as well. So I reduced the depth, the neck depth for the front by 1/2 inch, and I reduced the neck depth for the back by 1/2 inch. So instead of 2.5, 1.5, I will be using 2 inches and 1 inch. So then I'll be reconstructing the neckline. Okay, then I will reconnect this point also to meet this point. Okay, so this is the new shape I have for my neckline now, and I will now confirm the measurements. So with this, I will have the exact value I needed for the neckline. Okay, so this is good because I'm working with neck circumference of 16 inches. Half of 16 inches is 8 inches, and here I have 8 1/4, so which is good. The 1/4 is going to serve 8 inches and 1/8, that is 8.125. 8.125 multiplied by 2 gives me 16 1/4. So that is going to serve like a ease around the neck. So with this value, I can go with the shape I have on the pattern. But before removing the front panel, I'll be transferring the vertical lines on the back panel. Now that I'm done constructing the armhole and the neckline, then I'll come to the side of the pattern and transfer this shape on the back panel. The shape at the side and the shape at the lower part. So before removing, I will cut the neckline and I will cut the armhole. So I'm cutting only the upper part, only the upper part of the back neckline, not the two together. So please note, this is the first layer and this is the second layer. I picked only the upper layer, so I'm cutting on only the upper layer. So, can you see what I have for the neckline? You can see the shape really comes out well. Then to cut the armhole, I'll be picking the two together like so. Cut to this point. Then I'll be cutting on the back armhole shape. As you know, I have the front armhole cut out already, just only the upper part. So now I can remove the front pattern. Now I've traced out the lines and I'll be trimming this off, okay? And also I will trim off the vent allowance to the vent point. The vent point is 7 inches from the safari suit length. This is a length point. Then I will measure 7 inches upward. Okay, so from the 7 inches point, I will trim this down up to the 7 inches point. So here is a 7 inches point, that is a vent point. So I will have the shape of the back like so. So guys, that will be all for now, but we are not done yet, because we still have to cut out the fabric using the pattern we drafted. We have to cut the collar, the pockets, the sleeve, and not forgetting the sewing parts of the tutorial, which I will be showing you in my next video. Take action now by subscribing to my channel so that you won't be left out of this great offer. Thanks for your time, and always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.